Hey, so welcome back. We're looking at the graphs of functions and their inverses. In the first video, we did example 1 together, and now in this video, we're going to look at example 2. So in example 2, we're going to sketch the inverse of the function that's shown here. And from our parent graphs lesson that we did in the last videos, the graph that we're looking at here is a square root function, right? We can tell because it has an endpoint and it's graphing half of a sideways parabola. Okay, so this square root function, if I want to graph its inverse, and I remember that inverses have symmetry over the line y equals x, then step 1 would be to switch the x and y of each ordered pair to get points on the graph of the inverse. So if I have a point at -4, -2, I would switch that to get a point at -2, -4 on the inverse. So -2 and then down to -4, right? That's going to be a point on my inverse. So these are points on f inverse of x. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing with this next point, -3, 0. I'm going to graph the point 0, -3 because I'm switching the x and the y. So I go to 0, -3, and put a point there. Okay, the next guide point I'm given is 0, 2, so that's going to become 2, 0. Right, so I go to 2, 0, and put a point. And then 5, 4 on f of x will become the point 4, 5 on f inverse of x. So I go to 4, 5, and put a point. Now, when you sketch inverses, they are always going to intersect along the line y equals x. That's our diagonal line. So I know I'm going to have a point here where they intersect the line y equals x. And then if you aren't comfortable yet with the shape that you're given sketching through those guide points, you can always pick some additional points and then just get yourself a few extra places that you feel comfortable with. So for example, this point right here, if I reflect it over the line y equals x, would be about here. Right, this point, if I reflect 1.5, 1.5, right, would be about right here. And then I can go ahead and sketch that inverse. And I can see now that the inverse has symmetry with the line y equals x. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and do example B. So if you'd like to pause the video here and then give this one a try on your own, then you can restart when you're ready and we'll go over it together. Okay, so if I want to put some points down here for the inverse of f of x, I'm going to start with 3, -5 and switch the x and y. So -5, 3 would need to be on this graph of the inverse. So -5 and then up 1, 2, 3. Okay, then the point 1, -3 is going to become -3, 1 when I switch the x and the y. So I go to -3, 1 and put a point. Okay, then I have the point -1.5, 1.1. So that will become 1.1, -1.5. So I'll come over here to 1.1 and down to -1.5 and plot a point. Okay, then I have -2.1, 4.5. That's going to become 4.5, -2.1. So come over here to 4.5 and then down to 2 and a little bit. And those would be my new anchor points. Now, it's also the case that where the curve intersects the line y equals x, there will be a point. So I'll go ahead and sketch that one. And this is still really difficult to tell from just these given points how this curve is going to bend through them. So this would be a case where it's going to be really important to pick some additional ordered pairs to reflect over that axis of symmetry so that we can get a really accurate curve. So if I, for example, take a look at this point right here in this bend, right, if I look about right here, okay, that is at maybe 2.1 and then negative 3.1. So if I go to negative 3.1 and then to 2.1, so then I would have a point about right there. Okay, and that helps me see how it's going to bend around that turn. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of this turn and try to get another point. So if I go for my y-intercept, that would be 0, and then it looks like maybe a little bit above negative 3. So let's try like 0, negative 2.8. So I'll go to negative 2.8, comma 0, and plot a point there. Right, and now I can see how that bend is occurring right through those points. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this sideways so I can make that nice smooth curve and go right through those anchor points. Okay, and then there is my inverse. So just to help make that a little bit more clear, I'm going to trace over my given curve with red so that you can see that symmetry over the line y equals x. So see how if I fold this over that line of symmetry, I get a mirror image on both sides. Okay. So that would be how you can sketch the inverse of a function by switching your ordered pairs x and y.